my hope is that we're going to go beyond the Democrats and Republicans. Increasingly, people are frustrated and angry about a two-party system which is dominated by big money and which does not pay attention to the needs of working people or elderly people or poor people. And I think if you talk common sense to the people and you say the government is supposed to represent the needs of those people who today are not getting a fair shake, you know what? They'll vote for you. And the problem that we have nationally in this country is that the two-party system dominated by big money is not delivering for ordinary people, which is why people are giving up on the political process, why they're not voting, and why there is a great deal of anger and frustration at the political system as it now exists. And we should not be overwhelmed or frightened by the powers of the Democratic and Republican parties. I don't believe that they really have a lot of grassroots support. I think that most people vote Democrat, they vote Republican, because they don't see any alternative. And it seems to me that the challenge of our time is to wake people up, is to go outside of the Democratic and Republican Party, to talk about the real issues, health care, the fact, the growing gap between the rich and the poor in this country, the bipartisan foreign policy by which we spend $300 billion on military while we cut back on programs for the elderly. Now, people cannot believe that a United States Congress, which has not raised the minimum wage in 10 years, which has cut programs for the poor, that these people are going on television saying, gee, we just can't make it with $89,500 plus a lot of very nice benefits. We need a 50% increase. What that is about is the arrogance of power. And it's related to the fact that in the last election, I don't know how many people know this, 99% of the incumbent congressmen were reelected. Okay? In other words, what you're seeing now in the United States Congress is a situation, number one, we have a lot of very, very wealthy people. 1/3 of the United States Senate are millionaires. A lot of the congressmen are millionaires. Number two, when you're an incumbent congressman, you can pick up a lot of corporate PAC support. You have a lot of name recognition. You have franking privileges. You're on TV every day. Basically, you're seeing the creation of a government which is isolated and unaccountable to the people and apparently cannot be recalled by the people. There was a bigger turnover in the Politburo in the Soviet Union last year than in the United States Congress. Now, that's a real problem. The American people are significantly less politically conscious and understanding of what goes around them than most of the people around the world. And one of the reasons is the collapse of the media in terms of allowing serious people with different points of view to go forward and debate the real issues of our time, or even to bring on the television set. Now, for example, we face, as all people know, an ecological crisis in our time, whether it's acid rain, the destruction of the ozone layer, the greenhouse effect. One would think that the CBSs and the NBCs of the world will be doing prime-time specials on these programs, having different scientists, talking about the issues, involving people in understanding what's going on in terms of our planet. They don't. The function of television is to make as much money as possible for the owners of the television stations and for those people who advertise the 30-second ads on television. So I would say that we're not going to bring about serious political change in this country until we deal with the media, which more and more is being swallowed up by large conglomerates. Very important issue. I think we don't really get a real glimpse of American reality on the CBSs and the NBCs. And I think when we talk about why we are where we are today as a country, we have candidates for the Democratic and Republican parties never seriously debating, in my view, the real issues facing our country. I think the television and the television industry plays a really important part in preventing serious debate about the major issues facing our country. As a candidate for office, for example, you know that when you get on television, you have 30 seconds to articulate your point of view. You know that you're dependent upon 30-second ads. And I think it is absolutely imperative, if we talk about bringing back a sense of democracy to this country where people don't just sit and watch other people, but feel that this is their country and that they can shape it. We've got to make radical changes in the television industry and the demand that they deal with the important issues facing our society. I think Congress, in a sense, no longer represents the ordinary people, and Congress is made up of the Democrats and Republicans. You know, people very often were yelling at the Republicans and Reagan, look at the horrible priorities he established, look at all the terrible things that he did to the poor people. But they forgot that both houses of the Congress for 4 out of Reagan's 8 years were controlled by the Democrats. So I think you have a bipartisan policy which essentially favors the rich at the expense of working people and the poor people. I think we need to go the direction of Canada, which has a third party.